Hi, my name is Amy. I'm the furniture painter over at the YouTube channel Flip It Furniture. I share tutorials on how to take your old, outdated furniture and give it a colorful and creative makeover. I recently painted my daughter's room using lick paint. She really wanted a pink room. She's had this turquoise for years and her favorite color is pink, so she's been begging me and begging. When I found this gorgeous dusty rose with lilac undertone pink, I knew it was the right one for her room. Now my daughter's been planning this for a really long time, so she knew that she wanted half pink and half white. We came across Lick's white with pink undertones and it turned out to be the perfect match. She loves her robe now so much. It's so beautiful. It's everything she hoped it would be. And I knew exactly what to do with the leftover paint. Today, I'm gonna show you how I give this old, outdated dresser a furniture makeover. Be sure to check out the description box below for the discount code FLIPITFurniture. That'll give you 50% off of your paint samples. Now let's flip it. I start this makeover by removing all the hardware. I remove all the drawers and I number them so I can put them back in their proper places. Next, I vacuum out all the dust inside the drawer cubbies. Prep work is key when you're painting furniture. You want to make sure that you use the right cleaner. I'm going to use Crud Cutter here. It's a cleaner and a greaser. You could use something like Dawn dish soap. You can use vinegar and water. You could use TSP. There's lots of options, but you want to make sure that you're getting all the grease and grime and oil off of your piece before you paint it, or your paint won't adhere properly. So giving the piece a thorough cleaning is so important. When I'm done cleaning the entire piece, I take a little bit of water and a fresh rag and I just wash the piece down to make sure there's no cleaner residue left on it. For this piece, I'm going to have to use a primer. For the body of the piece, I'm using Zinsser's Bin. Zinsser's Bin is an excellent option when you're trying to cover stains or tannins or any bleed through. It really blocks all of that. This primer is also excellent for adhesion. It really helps the paint to stick to the piece. I add 2 coats of Zinsser's Bin to the piece. I wait about an hour in between the coats, and I'm just using a high density foam roller to avoid any brush strokes. Zinsser's Bin has a really watery consistency, so you want to be very careful when you're painting not to drip all over. You'll want to protect your floors when you're using this primer, so it's ideal to lay down some plastic or a tarp or even a drop cloth. For the top of this piece, I'm using sticks. This is a bonding primer. The top of this piece is Formica, I believe, and it's extremely shiny. When you're painting a mirror or plastic or anything extremely shiny, laminate, you're gonna wanna use a bonding primer, a primer that's specially made for it. Bin is excellent for most projects because the top is so shiny and it is Formica. I'm going to have to use something a little bit stronger, and sticks is ideal. I add 2 coats of sticks and I wait 2 hours in between the coats. And then I wait a whole 24 hours until the next day to apply the paint to the top. In between coats, I store the roller inside a little plastic bag. That way it doesn't dry out on me. We finished prepping the piece and now it's time for the fun part, which is painting the piece. Before painting your walls or arts and crafts or your furniture, you want to make sure that you thoroughly mix your paint. The plan for this dresser is to create an ombre effect. To achieve this look, I'm going to add the pink to the bottom of the dresser, the white to the top of the dresser, and then we're going to blend those colors in between so that it gives the gradient effect. It'll be darker on the bottom, going lighter to the top. I always apply 2 coats of paint to my pieces of furniture at least, and I must say that I was really impressed with Lick's paint because the coverage is excellent. I could almost cover the whole thing on my first coat, but I did end up putting a second one in just to be sure that everything was covered. My first coat is always the practice coat because I know that there's going to be a second coat added. So for this one, I even blend because I want to see how it's going to look. I want to know how far up I'm going with the darker color or the pink color. it just kind of gives me an idea of what it's going to look like. And if I make any mistakes, I can cover those on my second. And also when I'm blending, if I leave harsh lines, if I don't blend it on that first coat, you could see that first coat through. So I always blend, even on my first coat, even on the practice coat. So I've got the pink on and I've got the white on, and right when they're gonna meet, I switch my brush and I go back to the pink brush. I don't add any paint to that brush. I'm just using what is left over on the brush, and I'm blending them. As you can see, I'm just bringing the pink up and mixing it with the white. Here I dip my paintbrush because I need a little bit more pink, and then I wipe some of it off because I don't want it to be super pink. I want it to be much lighter as we go to the top of the piece. And I add a little bit of water with my water mister because at this point the paint is drying, so I want to keep it so it can move nice and easy. And when I like the way the pink looks, the last step is to go back from the top with my white and just bring it down a little bit just to make sure everything is nice and even. So my first coat is dry. The entire piece is done with the first coat. And now I have to add that second coat, which is the final coat. And I'm gonna follow pretty much the same process I did on the first coat throughout the entire piece. And my last step when I'm blending, which is probably the most important step, is to use a completely dry, soft brush. And we're gonna smooth out any lines that I see because I want this to be a flawless finish. I don't want you to be able to see where one color starts and the other ends. I want it to just blend into each other. So this dry brush, I just feather it. I use a really light hand and I feather the paint around and just make sure it's nice and mixed and smooth. Whenever I blend the dresser fronts, I have to keep the drawers inside so I can make sure that everything looks even. But when it's dry, I always take the drawers out and I touch up the top and the sides of the drawer front. And I'll also do the inside of the cubbies just to make sure everything has that really nice finished look. Whenever I'm painting furniture, I love to add just a little something extra. So for the drawer fronts, the two on the top, there's this gorgeous design. I'm gonna put a little bit of decoupage paper in there, and you could use anything to decoupage, really. You could use fabric, you could use leftover wallpaper, you could use napkins. The possibilities are sort of endless. So just for some fine details and a little something extra, I'm going to use this floral decoupage paper. I laid the decoupage paper on the drawer front, and then I used my fingernails to trace out the design. Now to glue the decoupage paper down, I'm using water-based polyurethane. Any sealer will do. I would make sure it's water-based though, so you don't get any yellowing. Now I add one coat of sealer on top of the decoupage paper. The base of my piece is completely finished, so I need to finish the top. I like to use a very fine sanding pad just to smooth out the top. The top is a high traffic area, so not only are we gonna add lick paint, but I am gonna add a sealer over it. Using Lick's roller made this so much easier, and it smoothed out that paint. The paint went on so nice. There are no brush strokes. It looks like almost as if I had used my sprayer. It looks really nice. Now to seal the top, I'm pouring a water-based polyurethane into a container, and then I'm gonna add a lick of the white paint into the container and mix it up with my brush. I'm applying the sealer to the top of the piece with a brush. You could also use the roller if you want. Adding a sealer to the top of this, which is a high traffic area, is an excellent idea because there's so much going on. People put books on top of things, maybe water or a glass. You want to make sure that your piece of furniture is protected. So that's why I always seal the top. I add 2 coats of sealer to the top and I wait about 2 hours in between the coats for the first coat to dry. We are finishing up the makeover. All I have to do is clean up the hardware with a little barkeeper's friend. I polish it and then I add it back to the dresser. Now let's do some before and afters. A quick little recap. I painted my daughter's room using Lick's paint and I loved working with this paint. It was so easy to use and highly pigmented, so the coverage was excellent. If you're looking for more information on Lick paint, be sure to check out the description box below. And don't forget, there is a discount code for samples. Here is a quick reminder of what the dresser looked like before we painted it. And here it is today. I love the way that this piece turned out, and I have to say this white is one of my favorites that I've ever worked with. It almost has like a little pearl to it. It's just, look at that top. It's so smooth and silky. I love the paint and I love the finish of the paint. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and thank you so much for watching.